Hello everyone, welcome back. In this part, we're going to talk about tooltips and style of image in CSS. First of all, let's say we have some text right here. And after this, we have some other words that we want some more information to show for these words. And after these, we got remain of our words and sentences. So here, we can use something called tooltips. To do that, first we're gonna wrap both of the word and info that we want to give about the word into some div. I'm gonna make div with the class name of word right here that have both of these inside of it. And then I want to have another div with the class name of tooltip right here that contains the info that we want to show to our visitor. So as you see, we got our word and more info right here. And now let's jump to CSS. Here, first let's select our divs and make them to display inline block so we can get the words inside of our text. After this, I want my word to be bold so I can find it easily in my sentence. So I'm gonna add b tag right here to make this bold. And after this, let's say I want my tooltip to have some designs. For example, a background of gray is good here. After this, we can have some padding going on, let's say 2 pixels, and pay attention that we want to show this when we hover on this. So here we want to make the position of this to absolute, as you see. And after this, if I make the visibility of this tooltip to hidden, you see I have my word and the rest of my sentence after it. After this, we're gonna select our container word div right here and add hover to it, which means when we hover on this, we want the tooltip class element inside of this element to be visible. So we make the visibility to visible right here. Now you see if I hover on this, we got this thing going on and giving us some more infos. But maybe in our design, we want this to be in top of our word and not the side of it. So here we can change this by our margins. And here we can say, for example, we want minus 20 pixel margin for the top. After this, 0 for the right, another 0 for the bottom, and let's say minus 50 pixels for the left. And as you'll see now, if I hover on this, our tooltip is gonna show right here. And of course, we can change this as we want. Let's make this 25 actually. Yes, this is how we're gonna see. And we can make the color white, so, or some white thing, so we can see the tooltip. And we can do this in the opposite way, so we can get this under our word, and we can make this 0. And let's say make this 50 pixel to 0 again. And here in the left, we can have maybe minus 100 pixels. So here, if I hover on this, let's make this 120. Yes, you see that we have this tooltip coming right in the left side. After this, we're going to talk about the styles that we can give to our image in our design files. So for doing this, I have simple image right here in my HTML folder, which is my base folder right here. And I'm gonna use it with my img tag right here. And the alt is simple image. Now you'll see we have our image, which is large, and that's why we can't get it all set right here. So in our style, let's first target our image in the first place and give this a width of dynamic 100%. So now we can get all of the image. The first thing that we can do with the image is to have our border radius and around the corners of our image. So here I add my border radius and give this, for example, 30 pixel. you'll see now how my image is going to be changed. And if I make this 50% straight, you'll see that it's gonna looks like circle thing type of image. And of course, if we have static width of 100 pixels and height of 100 pixels, we are going to have perfect circle right here. That we can actually make this larger. Maybe 300 is good. Yes, you can see actually we can make this 400 too. You'll see how beautiful and circle this is going to be. After this, we can have some other type of usage in image. For example, we can have thumbnail image as a link to user can select that. Let's say here we have our image inside of our div, which is container for our image. And in our style, we're gonna select our div first and give this a width of 100% right here. And after this, let's make the width of our image to be, let's say, 95%. And we can have some border for our image. Let's say 2 pixels, solid black border, and some padding of 2 pixels maybe. Oh, let's make this 5. And of course, we can change the color of our div. Let's make this not black, something like gray. This is good. Now you'll see we have this image going on, and we can have image with our hover. So we can change how we want to act when we hover on this. And let's say when we hover on this, we want our paddings to be 0. Maybe, actually, let's delete this. We don't need this. And maybe we want some box shadows with 0, 0, 3 pixels, and 3 pixels again with the color of black. And let's say we want our cursor to be pointer when we hover on this image. And now let's comment out this div right here. And now you see if I hover on my image right here, actually I need to remove this space. If I hover my image right here, you can see we get the change, but not the shadow. Oh, here I misspelled that, box shadow. Yeah, you'll see that we got this thing going on that we can use as our thumbnail, and maybe we can give some link to it. Just like this, we add our anchor tag. Here, give the URL that we want. And here, instead of text of the link, we give this image. So whenever user hovers on it and clicks on this, it's going to get to the URL that we pass to the here. For example, let's say if we have here https google.com, you'll see now if I refresh and click on this, it's going to redirect me to the google.com. Let's get rid of these. And now in the next part, let's say we want to center an image. We want the width to be 50%. We don't want our border or padding going on, just our simple image. But we can have some box shadows maybe with 5 pixels of blue and color of black. Here, if we want to center our image horizontally, we can use several ways. First one is because here we have 50% of width, we can give this margins with percentage, which means if we have 25% for the both sides, we can have this in the center. And you know that if I give a 0 here, it's going to be applied to the top and bottom, and this one going to be applied to the side. So here I can have my dynamic changing centered image going on right here. But let's say we have this fixed size of, let's say, 300 pixels. Now you'll see this is not going to be make our image center. So instead of this percent, we're going to type auto keyword right here. But pay attention that if we want to use this auto, we need to set the display of our image to be black. And now you see again we have this image fixed into place in the center, but only at 300 fixed width for the image. Another thing that we can have here is our filter property. So here I'm gonna make the width to the 100%. And after this, here I'm gonna use my filter property. Here we have a bunch of methods that we can use. The first one, we have this blur going on here, which if I give this 5 pixel, for example, you'll see how it's gonna change my image and add blur effect to this one. Another things that we can have here is change up our brightness. For example, if I want to make my image darker, I can use maybe a 60% of brightness, so it's decreased 40%. Another thing that we can have is our contrast. For example, let's make our image have contrast. Okay, we can do that. After this, we have our grayscale, which we can make this black and white image just by typing this filter after this. We can have this hue rotate thing that can change our hue of our image. Let's say we want this to be in 90 degree. You'll see it has changed the hue 90 degree. After this, we have drop shadow going on that we can pass in drop shadow for our image. Let's say we want this to be in 2 pixel, 2 pixel, 5 pixel of blur and maybe blue color. You see that now we have this drop shadow going on all along our image. After this, we can have other value of invert, inverts the color of our image. After this, we can have our saturate method right here that we can give some numbers and you can see how it's gonna change our image. After this, we can have our sepia, which again we can give how many scale that we want to apply to our image. But after this, in some cases, we want when we hover on our image, some details about our image come and show to us. So to do that, first we're going to go to our HTML and here we need to have some container to wrap both our image and the content that we want for our image. And here we have the content div right here. And inside our content div, let's say we want to say this is image from high mountain. So after this, first we need to go to our CSS and select our image and give this a display of block. Of course, we need to have width so it stays in the place that we want. And let's select our container right here too. And let's make the position of this to relative. Now here we have our content div which contains our text. I want to give this some background. Maybe let's select this kind of green thing going on. And I want the height of this to be 100%. So this is going to be as height as this one. But again, we need to have position of absolute right here so we can change how this one is going to be shown and where it should be placed and displayed. And because you see, we should have our width to be in the 100%. And pay attention that if I make the top of my content to 0, this is gonna overlay to my image, which here I need to change the font size of my text to be 3em. Maybe 2 is good here. Yes. And then I want the color to be white. Now we can use several ways to make this appear. First one is to make the visibility of this to hidden. So here we have our simple image. But when we hover on our container, we want the element with the class name of content inside of it to change the visibility to visible right here. As you see, if I hover on this, we can have this thing coming up, and we can have cursor thing going on that change the mouse to the pointer. And another way of doing the same thing for this is to use opacity. So here we use opacity and give this 0 value. And here we want, when we hover on this, the opacity to be 100%. You see, this is going to apply just as same as it worked with visibility. And here we can use our transition right here, select all of our properties, make this maybe 1 second length and ease. You see now, if I hover on this, it's gonna take some time and this is going to come and go. And if I make this, for example, 0.3 seconds, you see how it's going to come and go. And of course, we can have this, for example, in 80%, not the 100. So when we hover on this, we can see some of the background image that we have, and then our text coming here. And you know, in index.html, you can here have some button, for example, that if you hover on this, you get this button. For example, here it says click me, and here if you hover, you see this one comes here too. Or you might have some link here which says click to go to the website. No matter, you can have whatever that you want to show right here. But another way of doing this kind of things is to our content slide from somewhere to our element. And for that here, we get rid of this opacity things here and here too. And here make this top minus 100 pixels. So it's top of our image. And here in our container, we're going to make the overflow hidden. So we don't want to see that one there. And when we hover, we want the top to be 0. So now if I hover, you see how it's coming and going. And let's make this ease in so we can have better type of animation right here. Of course, you can do this with other things. For example, we can have bottom right here. That's going to be in minus 100. And after that, when we want to hover on it, we want to have it in 0. So it's come from the bottom. And maybe you want the width or the height of this to be only in 50%. Yeah, and you hover on this, you get this one. And maybe when you hover, you want your image to flip. So you're going to have, when you hover on your container, you want your image to transform in the scale X and give this -1. So when you hover, you see the image is going to flip too, and other things. Please give a like and subscribe to catch next videos.